Yesterday, on Friday, January the 2nd, GodTube removed the following video, even though it had been on for only 1 week and was already one of their more popular videos. This video is about Barack Obama and Bible prophecy. Following this video, I will give you my opinions on why GodTube banned this video.
Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. The topic for this program is a very serious issue because I am going to talk about the defeat of our President Barack Obama by the Antichrist and the defeat of the United States in World War III. As these events are predicted by that great Old Testament prophet Daniel in his chapter number 11. First, I want to take a look at biblical numerology, because the study of numbers is how we will understand end times prophecy. In Daniel, Revelation, the Olivet Discourse, and the book of Esther, numerology is extremely important. Let's look at the most common end times numbers. The number 4 is the last week in a month. The number 7 is the last day in a week. The number 12 is the last month in a year. And the number 28 is the last day in a lunar month, and also a multiple of 4 times 7. Because these are the last numbers in very important sequences, they symbolize the last days. In chapter 11 of Daniel, the prophet employs 3 other very important numbers, and that is 444, 666, and 555. Now let's look at the book of Revelation to see how important numerology is, according to the great prophet St. John the Apostle. In chapter 13, verse 18 of Revelation, St. John writes, "Let him who has understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Now the beast, of course, is the Antichrist. And notice in this passage that St. John uses the word number 3 times. In some Bibles, the word count is substituted by the word calculate. In other words, St. John is saying that wisdom and understanding comes from a knowledge of mathematics. And in chapter 17, verse 9, St. John adds, "Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains upon which the woman sits, and they are also 7 kings." St. John is writing here about the whore of Babylon. But again, notice he says wisdom involves mathematics. These are the only 2 places in the book of Revelation where St. John uses the phrase wisdom and understanding. In both times, he is talking about numbers and mathematics. In this last phrase, for example, the word 7 is used 3 times. This numerology is not accidental. Now let's look at chapter 11 of Daniel and see how he divides up the 45 verses into a 555, 666, and 444 sequence of verses. On the wall behind me are all 45 verses of Daniel's chapter number 11. If we look at the first 12 verses, we see they are divided into a 4-4-4 sequence. Following these 12 verses are 18 verses, and they are divided in a 6-6-6 pattern. Following these 18 verses are 15 verses in a 5-5-5 sequence. All of this numerology is extremely important for us to understand that the last king of the South will be President Barack Obama, and the last king of the North will be the premier of Russia. Daniel uses numerology to help us understand who he is talking about in these end times. In verse number 40, Daniel writes, "And at the time fixed, the king of the South, and that is Barack Obama, shall push against him," and that is the premier of Russia, "and the king of the North, the premier of Russia, shall come against him," again, Barack Obama, "like a tempest." Now this word tempest can also be translated as whirlwind. And what that means is with air power, airplanes and missiles. And with chariots, of course, that means mechanized vehicles. And with horsemen, that would be the infantry. And with a great navy. And of course, we know that Russia has a great navy. "And he shall enter into the countries." The countries here is plural because Daniel is writing about America and England. "And shall destroy and pass through." America and England will be destroyed and occupied following World War III. How can we be sure that Daniel is writing about Barack Obama and the premier of Russia in verse number 40? Daniel uses numerology to reveal to us who he is talking about. As I mentioned, the first 12 verses are divided into a 4-4-4 sequence. As you should know, Barack Obama's number in Bible prophecy is 444. That's because he is the 44th President of the United States, and he was elected on November 4th. In the first 4 verses of chapter 11, Daniel describes 6 ancient kings. And from the first year of Darius the Mede, that's the first king he is talking about. "I will show you the truth. Behold, there shall yet stand 3 kings in Persia." 3 more kings. These kings are Darius II, Smerdis, and Cambyses. Following the 3 kings in Persia, Daniel says a 4th shall be enriched exceedingly above them all. Now this king is Xerxes. And following Xerxes shall rise a strong king and shall rule with great power, and he shall do what he pleases. Now this 6th and last king of these first 4 verses is Alexander the Great. As I said, the 4-4-4 sequence of verses is there to indicate Barack Obama. The 6 ancient kings are used by Daniel to set up another sequence, and that is a 6-6-6 sequence. Because we will find that there are 6 kings of the north and 6 kings of the south. In part 2 of this series, we will examine carefully who these 6 kings of the north and 6 kings of the south are, because it is critical for those of us living in the United States to understand exactly what Daniel is talking about in chapter number 11, because he is describing the defeat of our President Barack Obama by the Antichrist and the defeat of the United States in World War III.
GodTube has not explained to me why they banned this video, even though I know they have my email address because I have received countless spams from them. I believed that they succumbed to pressure from Barack Obama's people to remove the truth about our next president. I know GodTube has many false prophets on their channel. I know they have many false prophecies about Barack Obama on their channel. But they do not want true prophecies about Obama. Obviously, GodTube has become a tool of the one world government and the one world religion. I can only hope that Barack Obama's pressure on YouTube will not succeed. And if you would like more information, simply write to the address you see on your screen.